that and build up to doing quite a few at the end. Mostly with people that struggle with the roll up and the roll back down again, it's not all about ab strength. Quite often it's about spine mobility. So especially that lower spine mobility, we're going to really work on that as well tonight. So we're going to start with our usual, which is about that spine mobility. Let me just position my camera, change my angle. There we go. So we'll start with our feet hip width apart, knees nice and soft, and we're just going to start with that rocking and find those deep core muscles, start to engage through those core muscles as we're rocking forwards and backwards. So coming over the toes, notice that wrapping around the front of the abdomen. And then as we come back over the heels, try to start maintaining that core engagement. Let me just do that. Right. So just rocking forwards and backwards, making sure we're nice and balanced and grounded. Weights evenly distributed throughout the feet, throughout the foot. Now when we come back to center this time, we are going to really maintain that core engagement, softening through the knees. Now this is about the lower spine mobility that I was talking about. So we're going to do our pelvic tilts as we normally would do. So engaging through the core, shortening the front of the body, posting that tailbone through in between the legs, and then arching backwards, sticking that bottom out behind. So it's just a few pelvic tilts to really try to focus that stretch into that lower back area, which we're going to work a lot on tonight. So tilting that pelvis, tailbone tucks under, and then stick that bottom out behind. Let's just do one more until we find neutral, which is somewhere in between those two extremes. And we're slightly tucking that tailbone under. So you should feel like you're slightly flattening that arch in the lower spine, drawing up through the pelvic floor as well. Let me just admit it. So drawing up through that pelvic floor as well. So nice and tight around the center, relaxing the shoulders down to the side. We're just going to do a couple of nice big shoulder rolls. Sliding those shoulder blades up, shoulders up towards the ears, and then sliding those shoulder, that was a tongue twister, sliding those shoulder blades down the back of the back. Let's take it up into a nice full body stretch. Inhale, expanding on that inhale breath, really filling the lungs on that inhale, and on the exhale it's all about connecting through the core, drawing everything back together. Let's just do one more nice deep inhale breath, fill the lungs, and then exhale it out through the mouth. Lovely. I'm just going to stand side profile. So we're going to try and keep the spine nicely lengthened here and reasonably straight. So we're just going to stick the bottom out behind us until we find a nice stretch into the hamstring there. So nice into the belly of the hamstring. Arms are going to remain down by the side of the body. I'm just going to work the top part of the back now. So take an inhale breath. We're going to bring the arms up. Frame the face, frame the head with the arms, and then exhale, bring the arms back down by the side of the body. So we should start to feel that across the shoulders, this one, inhaling as those arms come up, keep that spine lengthened, exhale as we come down. So you'll really feel the spine working there, the muscles around the spine, keeping us in that really lovely lengthened position. Bottom is poked out behind. It's almost like we've got a surfboard or something is strapped to the back, so we don't want to be flexing forwards or hunching forwards. So let's go for 3 more. Inhale breath, reach those arms. Exhale breath, bring those hands back beside the body. Last 2. Inhale and exhale. Last one. Inhaling those arms up. And exhale as we bring the arms down to the side of the body. And then we're just going to straighten back up again. This is where we could use the wall. If we haven't got the wall, don't worry, we're just going to do a normal roll down. So just stand about half a foot in front of the wall if we've got one. And then we're just going to bring the bottom tailbone back onto the wall. So we're leaning into the wall. Arms are relaxed down by the side, shoulder blades down the back of the back. So the back of the head should be touching the wall as well. And just notice what parts of the spine are touching the wall, if any. Obviously the tailbone and the back of the head are there. So what I want to do when we roll down is really try to feel the wall with the spine. So relaxing the arms, take an inhale breath to prepare. As we exhale, start to dip the chin towards the chest, so lengthening through the back of the neck first, and then just start to roll the spine down. As we roll the spine down, you should start to feel the spine imprinting into the wall, and then just try to peel one vertebrae at a time. So really articulating through the spine. I can already feel now a big chunk of my spine is coming away from the wall because I haven't got that mobility in the lower back area, which is what we're going to focus on tonight. So bringing the arms down into that roll down, relaxing through the head, the shoulders, the arms. When we reach the bottom, take an inhale breath, and on that exhale breath, again, start to think about turning that pelvis, tucking that tailbone under, and then again, articulating through the spine, trying to touch one vertebrae at a time back onto that wall. We'll do this again at the end of the class, and hopefully you should feel a little bit more mobile through that spine area, which is a little bit stiff. Let's go for one more wall roll down. So arms relaxed down by the side. Make a bit of a mental note of what's touching the wall. Inhale breath, exhale breath, chin goes towards the chest. We're leaning back into the wall. As that chin dips towards the chest, try to imprint the spine against the wall, and then just start to peel the spine away from that wall, one vertebrae at a time, rolling it down nice and slowly. When we reach the bottom on this one, let's take a few nice focus breaths here. In through the nose, feel that expansion into the back of the rib cage, and on the exhale breath, think about that connection in the core. Try and go a little bit deeper into that roll down. Just letting everything relax, the jaw, the neck. And then on the next exhale breath again, we're posting that tailbone under, turning that pelvis back upright, and try to really work that lovely C curve into that lower spine area as we return back against that wall. And when we reach the top, just sliding the shoulder blades down the back of the back, let those arms dangle. So moving yourself off the wall now, we're going to come to the end of the mat, do exactly the same thing to make our way down to the floor. So again, standing with the feet hip width apart, knees nice and soft, pelvis in neutral, so a slight tuck of that tailbone, arms relaxed down the side of the body. Taking an inhale to prepare. As we exhale, chin comes towards the chest. And again, think about that wall being behind us here. Try to get each vertebrae feeling away from that wall. Think about creating space between the vertebrae of the spine, rolling it down. We're rolling down to a point where we can place the hands flat to the mat. So we might need to pop a bit of an extra bend into the knee. So palms nice and flat. And let's just do a couple of knee bends to wake up the legs here. So again, just bending through the knees, bringing the bottom down towards the back of the heels. Working that ankle mobility there as well. And then exhale breath, pushing the bottom back up towards the ceiling, straightening out the legs as much as we can, keeping the palms flat to the floor. So let's just do a couple more of these. Coming down nice and slowly, bringing that bottom down towards the back of the heel, work that ankle, and then exhale breath, pushing back up with the bottom, straightening out the legs as much as we can without locking the knee. Bottom comes down, feet remain flat to the mat, palms remain flat to the mat. Push that bottom back up towards the ceiling. Last one. Bottom comes down. So you should start to feel a little bit of work into the quads there, pressing that bottom back up towards the ceiling. Straighten out those legs as much as we can. We're going to then start to walk down the mat into our full plank position. So just waking everything up. So the wrists are underneath the shoulders, bottom's nice and low. I'm going to turn around so I'm not turning my neck all the time. So bottom in line with the body. Think about pressing the floor away with the hands so the shoulder blades are nice and active. We're going to hold it here for 4 nice deep breaths. So inhaling through the nose. Think about lengthening on the inhale, exhaling it out, getting that connection on the exhale breath. Last 3. Last 2. Last 1. Bringing the knees down nice and gently onto the mat, one at a time. Have a sit back into the heels, lengthen through the spine, lengthen through the arms. Bring the forehead down in between the arms, down towards the floor. Really lengthen out through the spine. Again, focusing on the breath here. Think about that expansion in the rib cage. On the inhale, really try to reach the back of the rib cage. And then exhaling it out through the mouth, sinking a little bit deeper into the stretch each time we exhale. And then let's take a little walk around to one side with the hands. Keeping the bottom nice and close to the heels, popping one hand on top of the other, going down a little bit deeper into that stretch. That should feel really nice, just working the spine in each direction. So if we come over to the left-hand side, you should feel a really nice stretch down the side of that the right rib cage. And then walking the hands back through, up and over to the other side. Again, placing one hand on top of the other, sitting that bottom back a little bit closer to the heels if we can. And then bringing the hands back to center. We're going to come onto our bottoms towards the front of the mat. In fact, come all the way down onto the spine. We're going to work a shoulder bridge to begin with tonight. So coming down onto the mat, making sure we've got that lovely neutral pelvis, so the hip bones and the pubic bone are on that same level. We're going to just walk the feet a little bit closer to the bottom. You'll notice that there is probably a little gap in between that lower back and the mat. Bringing the arms down to the side, collarbones out nice and wide, shoulders away from the ears. Imaginary tennis ball in between the knees just to keep everything nice and still. Inhale breath. As we exhale, we're going to really press that lower back down into the mat, lifting the pubic bone higher than the hip bones, and just start to peel the spine away from the floor, one vertebrae at a time, peeling up into our first shoulder bridge. So a nice straight slope from the knee down to the shoulder, keeping that tailbone tucked under. Inhale breath here, exhale breath, slowly articulating back down through the spine, placing one vertebrae at a time. Really try to control that lower spine down, and then return that pelvis back to neutral, keeping the grip on the tennis ball in between the knees. Let's go again. Inhale breath to prepare, exhale, start to imprint, really press down with that lower back area, lift the pubic bone higher than the hip bones, start to peel the spine away from the floor, squeezing the hips up towards the ceiling, but keeping that slight tuck on the tennis ball, slight tuck on the, what's it called, tailbone. Inhale breath here, exhale breath, slowly start to articulate back down. Think about lengthening the spine down along the floor as we come down. Next one, last one. Inhale breath, exhale, pelvic tilt, imprint before we peel up, pressing up towards the ceiling, squeezing on that tennis ball, keep those inner thighs working as well. Let's take an inhale breath. We're going to bring the arms up and over, bringing the arms behind the head, bringing the hands behind the head. Then I want you to almost think about somebody pulling the hands away from the body, so shoulders will come up to around the ears this time. This is a really nice release on the spine, this one. So we're going to slowly try and articulate down with that pull of the hands behind the head. A little bit harder to do, but you should feel really nice release into the spine as we come down, keeping that grip on the tennis ball at all times, finding that sticky area in the spine where it might feel a little bit stiff. When that bottom touches the floor, we're going to bring one knee up towards the shoulder, bring the other knee up, and just pull the knees up towards the shoulder, have a little roll around on that lower back area. So placing the feet back down one at a time onto the floor. We're going to bring the arms out level with the shoulders, palms facing up towards the ceiling. So again, we should have that nice neutral pelvis at this point, hip bones and pubic bone on that same level. We're going to exhale, bringing the first leg up to tabletop position. So the knee is directly above the hip, and we've got a nice 90-degree bend behind that kneecap. Take an inhale breath as we exhale, really engage through the core as we bring the second leg up to join the first leg. We're then going to bring the knees and the feet together and work our spine twist. So inhaling as we roll the knees down to one side. As we roll the knees down to one side, the opposite hand should just try to pull away from the body, finding that really nice diagonal stretch. Again, inhaling, feeling that lengthening and expansion on the exhale breath as we bring the knees back through the center. Think about that connection through the core. Use the exhale breath to really engage those deep core muscles as the knees go down to the other side. Again, lengthen the opposite hand away. So finding that stretch across the body. Exhale breath, nice and slowly bringing those knees back through center. Rolling that weight across that lower back. Keep that going. Inhale as we lower. Exhale as we drag those knees back through. Working across the waist. Try not to let the knees come too close to the chest. Try to keep the knees directly above the hips, just making it a little bit more challenging. If we end up with the knees here, just makes it a little bit easier. Just try to keep those right angles. Looks perfect. Well done. Nice. That looks really lovely, Abby. Well done, Gemma. Lovely, Keena. Perfect angles on those knees. Let's keep it going. Let's go for one more to each side. Nice. When we bring it back to center, we're going to place one foot back down onto the floor, followed by the other foot. And then we're going to bring the hands behind the head. So we're going to work into our ab prep now. So again, the pelvis should remain nice and still and neutral. So hip bones and pubic bone are on the same level. Hands are here to support the weight of the head. So we're not pulling up on our neck with the hands. We're just there. They're just there to support the weight of the head. So take an inhale breath. Start to dip that chin towards the chest, lengthening through the back of the neck. As we exhale, we're peeling the head and the shoulders up away from the floor, coming up into that lovely C curve of the upper spine. Take a gaze through the thighs there. Inhale breath and exhale again, remembering not to pull up on the neck, just lowering back down with control. So by shortening the abdominals here, we're lifting the top part of the spine up into that flexion, taking that gaze in between the thighs, keep the knees nice and still as well. Imagine we've got two glasses of water balanced, one on each knee, and lower back down with control. Let's do a couple more. Exhaling up. Inhale when we get to the top, come up as high as we can. And then lower back down as slowly as we came up. Last one. Exhale, breath coming up. We're going to hold it at the top on this one. So now we're going to start to add in a pelvic tilt here. So take an inhale breath, and as we exhale, I want you to think about imprinting that lower back down, lifting the pubic bone higher than the hip bone. So we're taking that C curve all the way through the spine, coming back to neutral with the pelvis. So hip bones and pubic bone are level, and then lowering the head and shoulders back down onto the floor. Let's keep that one going now. So exhaling up, pelvis stays in neutral, nice and still. Take that gaze in between the thighs. And this is where we imprint that lower spine, shortening those abdominals even further, lifting the pubic bone up, coming back to neutral. So it's not a massive movement at all, but as you can feel with the abdominals, it makes them work a lot harder to create that lower spine flexion. Exhaling up. Imprint the spine, lift that pubic bone higher than the hip bones, return it back to neutral, and then lower it back down on the floor, the head and shoulders back down. Last two, exhale it up. Gaze goes in between the thighs, come up as high as we possibly can with that upper back, and then imprint that lower back, lift the pubic bone higher than the hip bones, back to neutral again, and lower back down. Last one, exhale breath, take it up, higher than the last time if we can, so stay nice and high here, and then imprint, pubic bone lifts, return it back to neutral, and lower back down with control. So really working nice and deep into those abdominals. Right, now we're going to start to add in some rotation at the top. So again, we're going to exhale, allow the weight of the head to fall into the hands. So we're lifting the head and shoulders away from the floor, and then we're going to rotate. So rotating over, bringing the elbow towards the opposite knee. So working that rotation, but keeping the pelvis nice and still. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, breath, take it over the opposite side. Keep those knees nice and still. Remember that glass of water. Inhale, bring it back to center. If you're finding this too much, you can bring the head down to the floor in the center. So exhaling up. This time we're going to reach the hand over to the outside of the opposite knee, trying to rotate a little bit more. Bring the hand back behind the head. Bring the head down if you want in the middle, or stay lifted if you want a bit more of a challenge. And then over to the other side, keeping those knees nice and still, keeping the pelvis nice and still. So the only movement is coming from that upper spine, rotation. Working nice and deeply into the core. Go from one side to the other. Use the exhale breath on that lift and rotation. Inhale as we come back to the center. We've got two more to each side in us. Two more to each side. So lift up and over. Stay lifted through the center if we can. Not the end of the world if you want to take that quick second break. And comes back. And last one. Bring the hand back behind the head. Slowly return the head and shoulders back down to the floor. Well done. Bring the arms back out into that T shape, level with the shoulders. Let's have a quick release stretch. Straddle the mat with the feet. Roll the knees over in one direction. Roll the head in the opposite direction, but try to keep the pelvis, the back of the pelvis, as close to the floor as we can. Breathing in nice and deeply on that inhale breath. Expand through the rib cage. And then just rolling the head and the knees back through the center, up and over to the other side. Stretching everything back out again. and then bring it back to center again. This time we're going to bring the arms down to the side of the body, stepping the feet back onto the mat again. We're going to come back up into tabletop position, so find that lovely neutral pelvis. Exhale, breath, first leg comes up to tabletop. Inhale, exhale, second leg comes up to join. So just bringing the arms down to the side. Aim of this exercise is to not lift the spine any further from the mat than it is at the moment. So if you feel safer imprinting, then imprint. So we're going to stretch the legs up towards the ceiling, reaching the feet up towards the ceiling, and then coming back into tabletop legs. So that you might find that quite easy. If you do, take the legs out at a nice angle away from the body, just making sure that spine doesn't lift away from the floor. So we're really working down the front line of those abdominals. Exhale, breath, we reach those legs away. So the lower the legs are, the harder it will be to maintain that neutral posture or imprint with the spine. Just don't let that spine lift away from the floor. So we're building up to double leg stretch now. Let's go for one more. Now on this one, bring the legs back to tabletop position. We're going to bring the hands to either side of the outside of the knees here. And this time, as we bring the legs away, the arms are going to come back up over the head. We reach, 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 double leg, double arm stretch, rotate round and come back to that start position without any lift from the spine. If you're finding it really tricky, just take those legs up towards the ceiling rather than out on that angle. Rotate those arms round, back to tabletop, back to start. Let's keep going. So all these exercises that we're doing at the moment should allow us to perform the roll up and down at the end with a little bit more ease. Let's go for 3 more. Inhale, we stretch. Reach those arms behind, rotate those arms out to the side as we come back. Last 2. Lovely. And last one. Inhale, make it a really good stretch on this last one. And exhale, bring the hands to the outside of the knees. Bring the knees in towards the chest again. Have a little roll around, relax the abdominals. Next. Oh yeah. So next exercise we're going to do. So bringing the knees up towards the chest. We're just going to start to roll. So bring the head towards the knees and just start to have a little roll with the spine, rolling into that lovely C curve. And if we can, rolling up onto the sit bones and up into a seated position. If you can't, don't worry, just bring yourself up into that seated position. We're going to have a play around with this one now. So we're going to bring the feet one at a time away from the floor. So balancing in that lovely C curve with the spine, bringing the knees up towards the chest. And then we're going to play around with the top part of this rolling like a ball exercise. So all I want you to do here is roll from the sit bones onto the back of the sit bones without rolling all the way back. So just stop yourself when you feel like you're about to topple and then come back onto the top of the sit bones. So keeping hold of the knees, rolling onto the back of the sit bones, keeping that C curve in the spine. Don't allow yourself to topple. And then back onto those sit bones. It's a really fractional movement. You'll really feel that core engage as we feel like we're about to topple back. It's all playing around with this pelvic tilt, lower spine mobility. So it's almost like we're trying to really tuck that tailbone under and then stopping when we think we're going to fall. So now let's take it into a full rolling like a ball. So again, find that C shape, tuck that tailbone under, and then we're just going to roll nice and smoothly onto the shoulders, not onto the neck, and try and balance back at the top. So it's a roll, nice and smooth, and balance back at the top. That looks fabulous. Lovely, Seb, that's really nice. Keep it going. So if you're finding that nice and easy and smooth, we're going to make it a little bit harder. So keeping those feet above the mat, we're going to bring the inside of the elbows to the outside of the knee and the hands to the forehead, the outside of the forehead here. So we're going to try and maintain this tight ball position as we roll onto the shoulders, try not to roll into the neck, and then back up again, staying in that really nice tuck position. So rolling it back, don't roll onto the neck. Ugh. And then back up again. Again, if you're finding this too difficult, just go back into holding those shins. So really using the abdominals here to control the roll. That round. Let's go. And last one, keeping that lovely C curve. Back onto the top of the sit bones and place those feet down to the floor. So we work loads of flexion there. Next exercise is a bit of a hip flexor exercise because we use the hip flexors also in the roll up and the roll down. So sat nice and tall on the sit bones. If that means that you need to pop a little bit of a bend into the knee here, then please do, because I'd rather the spine was nice and tall and straight rather than us leaning back for a bit too tight in that lower back area. But if you can, straight legs, use straight legs. So we're going to bring the hands together, reach the arms up to the ceiling, staying in that really lovely lengthened spine position. Again, very, very small movement. You'll really feel this in the hip flexor. We're going to lift the right leg away from the floor. So really isolating that hip flexor on the right side and lower back down with control, keeping the spine lengthened and tall. Left leg comes up, reach, 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 don't lean back. That looks great. And lower back down with control. Let's keep it going one side to the other. You've got to really feel that in the hip flexors. Quite often that's a point of the body which is really lengthened or tight and weakened from when we sat down a lot at a desk. They become short, they become weak. So we're just strengthening the hip flexor here. Keep it going. Let's go for 2 more on each side. Keep that lovely lengthened spine. That looks really great, everyone. Reach again. Remember, keep that bend in the knee if it means that spine's going to be a little bit straighter. And last one. And then rest the legs back down. Bring the arms down to the side. We're going to work a little bit of rotation now as we're in this seated position. So again, keeping the length in the spine. So if you need to keep that bend in the knee here, that's fine. If we can work with straight legs, work with straight legs. So we're going to bring the hands to just behind the head. Spine's lengthened, crown of the head pulled towards the ceiling. We're going to rotate over to one side. And then we're going to try and bring the nose down towards the knee. Imagine you've got a marble on the knee. We just want to nudge that marble off the knee with the nose, lengthen the spine, and come back up with a nice straight spine. And then rotate back through the center over to the other side. So it's a rotation. We dive down towards the knee. Imagine we're just trying to nudge a marble off the knee as we lengthen through the spine and come up with a nice straight spine. So I'll give you a side profile view. If anyone's a bit unsure, rotate, we bend, we lengthen, and then we come back up through the center and rotate it back through. So we'll just do a couple more to each side, because I know that this is quite tough too. Rotate, lengthen the spine before hinging back up and rotating through. Last one. Inhale it through. Exhale it through on that rotation. Bend it down. Nudge that marble as we lengthen through the spine and then hinging back up and then returning to center. Bringing the arms down. Give the arms a little shake out there as well. Well done. Now I'm really firing through this, but all of these are going to assist us with our roll up. What are we doing next? All fours now. So we're flipping over onto a all four position. So the wrists are underneath the shoulders, the knees are underneath the hips. Main focus for this exercise is keeping this upper spine in a nice neutral position. Again, we're going to focus on this lower troublesome bottom part of the spine. So inhale breath, keeping the upper spine as it is. We're going to exhale and just turn that tailbone under, drawing those abdominals up towards the spine. Top part of the spine doesn't move, so it's very minimal. And then release back. So allow that tailbone to untuck. So it's an exhale breath. Upper spine stays where it is. Pelvic tilt. Tailbone comes under. We'll really feel those lower abdominals engage. And then back. So it's just that little pelvic tilt. And then back to neutral. So again, not a massive movement at all. And that looks like everyone's mastered that one. So you'll notice that that flexion hasn't crept up into the upper spine. We're just focusing on that lower back. And then keep banging on about it. And then bring ourselves back to neutral. We're now going to extend the right leg behind us. Toe to the floor and do exactly the same thing again with the leg extension behind us. So it's just a tailbone tucked under and release. This time tailbone's going to tuck under, tailbone's going to stay tucked under, and then we're going to try and keep that tailbone tucked under as we lift that right leg away from the floor. So it's not going to be a huge lift at all, and lower it back down. So you should really feel that in the glutes. It really helps to isolate the glute here. So exhale breath, tailbone stays tucked, 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 lift, 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 lower, lower, lower. So it's not like our normal exercise where we can lift the leg really high because the tailbone's untucked. With that tailbone tucked, the movement is very minimal. We're going to go for 3 more. Last 2. Try to keep that left hip above the left knee as well. This last one, we're going to stay lifted with the leg. We're going to bend through the knee, flex through the ankle, and keeping that tailbone tucked under, we're just going to take it into 8 little pulses. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lovely. Bring the foot back down to the floor. Untuck the tailbone. Bring the knee underneath the hip. Let's have a little release back into child's pose before we do the other side. Perhaps give the wrists a little bit of a roll there as well. Gosh, just 20 to 8. Let's hope we do get on to roll. Roll up and roll down. So let's bring it back onto all fours, extending the left leg behind us this time. Again, let's do a few pelvic tilts. So really scoop that tailbone under, keeping that left leg extended, and release. Tailbone tucks under. We're going to stay tucked on this one. Upper spine stays nice and neutral, and then lift that left leg away from the floor. You can see on this side, my leg doesn't come up that high at all. Exhale, breath, lift. Everything else stays nice and still. Main focus is to keep that tuck and tilt of the pelvis. Last 3. Keep that right hip directly above that right knee. 2. That's good, everyone. Last one. Squeeze up, bend the knee, flex the ankle. 8 little pulses, so squeeze, squeeze. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Bring the knee back underneath the hip. Have a sit back into the heels. Walk those hands forward. Lengthen back out through the back. And then just to even things up, because we've done so much flexion, we are going to go all the way down on our fronts and work a little bit of spine extension on this next one. So sliding all the way down, just a little bit of cobra presses, just to even things back out a little bit. So hands just in front of the shoulders or underneath the shoulders. Just make sure the shoulders are down the back of the back. Elbows in nice and tight towards the body. Relaxing the bottom. We're going to exhale as we push the floor away with the palms of the hands coming up, extending through the spine this time, which should feel quite nice after all that flexion. Keeping those elbows nice and tight. We're going to come back down, working the back of the arms. Just make sure the shoulders don't creep up. Exhale, breath, press the floor away. That's it. Elbows stay nice and tight, almost brushing the rib cage, and lower it back down. All very slow, all very controlled. When we come to the top of the cobra, just make sure the gaze goes towards the end of the mat to keep that neck in line with the spine. Let's go 5 more. Lovely, Abby. Keep those elbows squeezed into the side of the body. Last 3. We're just trying to even things up here. Last 2. And last one. Exhale, press up. Feel that burn in the back of the arms. Lower yourself back down ever so slowly. And then we're going to come back up onto all fours. So press the floor away. Engage the core, have a little sit back into the heels again, lengthen everything back out. And then coming towards the front of the mat, we're going to go back, working the front of the body, finishing off with our roll up and roll down. So feet come hip width apart. We're going to again work that C curve. So at the moment, let's put the hands behind the thighs. And then nice and tall on the sit bones to begin with. We're going to roll to the back of the sit bones. So we're thinking about getting the waistband at the back of the trousers as close to the floor as we can. Working that stretch into that lumbar spine area. Into a half roll down. We're really scooping out those lower abdominals until we can't get down any further. Take an inhale breath here and then exhale, staying in that flexion position, so staying in that C shape, bringing the forehead almost in between the knees, but keeping that lovely C shape in the spine. Inhale breath when we get to the top. Exhale breath, we're going to go back down again. So again, think about getting the back of the pelvis as close to the floor as we can, extending out through the arms. If you want to remove the arms from behind the thighs and go down that little bit lower, really imprinting that lower back, keeping that C shape, and then coming back up. So we're really shortening the front of the abdominals here. Let's go for 2 more. Almost rolling up and rolling down here. And last one, let's go all the way down on this last one again. thinking about lengthening the spine a vertebrae at a time as we come down onto the mat. When we get to the bottom, bring the arms down to the side. So we should have a nice neutral or imprinted spine there, whichever one works for you. If you can manage neutral, that's the best, where you've got that slight little gap between the mat and the lower back. We're going to exhale, first leg comes up to tabletop position. We're going to do some hip raises now. Exhale, second leg comes up to tabletop position. Arms down by the side. We're going to cross one foot over the other and just lengthen the legs a little bit more up towards the ceiling, but with a nice soft knee there. So like we did at the beginning of the class, we're going to bring those legs down on that angle without losing the imprint. So go down as far as you feel you can without the spine lifting. And then we're going to bring the knees towards the chest, lift the hips away from the floor, pressing into the arms. Use the arms here and then slowly articulate back down through the spine. Going out at that angle, don't lose the imprint, don't lose the imprint. And then knees come up towards the chest. Lift those hips away from the floor and lower it back down. So that's our level one. Level two, we uncross the legs and work full rollover. So coming down on that angle as far as we can, bringing the legs all the way over the head. Use the arms here to help a little bit if you like. When the legs are over the head, we're going to flex the ankles, part the feet, and slowly again articulate all the way back through the spine. When the legs are vertical, bring the feet back together, take it down on that line as far as we can before the spine lifts. And then back up, pressing into the arms, bring the feet and the legs over the head. If we can, get those toes to touch the floor, part the feet, flex the ankles, and slowly lower it back down. Let's have a look. That looks great. Not an easy one. Not an easy one for your first one back, Gemma. Keep it going. You're doing really, really well. Obviously, break. Well, perfect. Break if you need to. Let's go for one more rollover or hip raise, whichever one you're doing. So lower, lower, lower. Bring the legs up and over. Really shorten the abdominals in the front there. Flexing the ankles, parting the feet. And then really try to keep the legs as close to the body as we can as we roll it back down. Well done. Bending through the knees and then placing one foot at a time back down onto the floor. Right, let's get to our roll up and roll down. We've got much time for this now, have we? So if you're wanting to use a band, quite a nice way to assist. So let's start with the band. I'll give you some options and then we can get going. So grabbing hold of your band, we're going to loop the band over the right foot. So lengthen the foot up towards the ceiling, walk the left leg away from the body, band in each hand like that. Taking an inhale breath as we exhale. We're pressing the foot into the band, lengthening out through the legs. Bring the chin towards the chest, remembering about imprinting that lower back down into the floor as the chest raises and coming up into that seated position at the top if we can. Lengthening at the top, inhale breath, exhale again, pelvic tilt, find that pelvic tilt first. Roll it down. Use the band to help control it down if you like. And when the back of the head touches the floor, we can add in that lovely little leg stretch. And then switch sides. So left leg, left foot into the band, right leg reaching away from the body. Band in each hand, chin comes towards the chest. and lift the shoulders off the floor, raise the chest as we press the foot into the band, use it to assist there. If you need to use an elbow just to get yourself there, if you've got a little bit of a sticking point, then that's absolutely fine. So that's the option with the band assist. If you're fine with roll ups and roll downs, if you wanted to press it, another little way to help is get your rolled up towel just behind the bottom there, just to find that imprint a little bit easier as we press down with that lower back. So again, if you want to work with a little bend in the knee, that's also fine, or straight legs. So lengthening at the top, rolling back, pelvic tilt, tuck that tailbone under, and just start to articulate down through the spine. Use that towel if you need to, just to imprint that lower back. Reach the arms behind the head at the bottom. Inhale breath, exhale breath, arms reach up towards the ceiling, chest lifts up towards the ceiling, chin comes towards that chest, imprint that lower spine. That looks really nice, well done, Keena. Reach it nice and tall at the top, lengthen, 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 and then just keep it going. So arms come down, level with the shoulders, tailbone tucks under. Keep those heels in contact with the floor. Bring the arms behind the head. Inhaling, nice deep inhale breath, exhale, arms come up, chest lifts, chin comes towards that chest as we come back up into the seated position on top of those sit bones. Reach nice and tall when we get there. Let's keep it going. Let's go for 3 more. Again, main focus here is to really get that C curve in that lower spine area. I know I keep saying it. It's really hard to achieve. Inhale, breath, exhale. Chin comes towards the chest. Again, like I say, if you need to use that elbow for a little bit of assistance or keep using the band, that's also completely fine. That looks really nice, and well done. Reach it nice and tall, and then arms come back out. I think this is the last one, isn't it? Roll it down. Perfect, Pam, that looks really, really nice. Great practice. It's a really good one to try and master as a roll down. Helps with so many things. And then bring the arms behind the head there. Make this one the last one. Inhale, breath. Exhale, arms come up. Chin comes towards the chest. Lift the chest and the shoulders away from the floor. Reach it nice and tall at the top. On this one, let's go straight into a forward fold. So flexing through the ankles here. We're going to lead with the chest, reaching towards the feet, finding that really lovely stretch down the back of the legs into that lower back. And just hold it there for 3, 2, and 1, and release. Whew, well done. Let's have a little stretch now. So let's start with a seated stretch. So sat on nice and tall on those sit bones, we're going to lengthen through the left leg, bring the right foot to the inside of the left knee. Right hand comes down to the side, fingers pointing away from you, and we're going to reach the left arm up towards the ceiling and then come diagonally across the body. So the outside of the left elbow is on the outside of the right knee. And then we're just going to take a look over that right shoulder as we press the elbow in towards the knee, finding that really lovely rotation in the spine. Just hold it there. Move the hand a little further back if it's more comfortable. And then we're going to rotate back to the front and switch sides. So right leg extends, left foot comes to the inside of that right leg. Place that left hand a little bit behind you, fingers pointing away. Reach that right arm up towards the ceiling. Come diagonally across. Elbow goes to the outside of that left knee. Take the gaze over that left shoulder as we press into that right knee, left knee. I can't work it out because I'm all tangled up. Left knee. And then bring it back to center. So let's stretch out the hips a little bit now. So bringing the feet, the soles of the feet together as close to the body as we can. We're just going to replace the hands over the toes there and just allow the knees to fall out to the side. And then just lean in the upper body over the feet. And if you want to deepen that stretch a little bit, we can ease those knees a little bit further out. A really nice stretch into the hip there. And release, well done. Coming on to all fours, let's just work a little bit of rotation into the top part of the spine. So wrists underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. We're just going to lift the right hand away from the floor, slide the right hand, palm facing up towards the ceiling, just behind the left wrist until we feel the shoulder, top of the shoulder down onto the floor. Rest the head down as well. Thread the needle, stretch. And then pressing back through that left hand, slide the right hand back underneath the shoulder. Same on the other side, so left hand slides behind that right wrist, palm faces up towards the ceiling. Top of that left shoulder just touches the floor, relax the head down, relax into it. And then pressing through that right hand and back up onto all fours again. Wrists underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. Let's take it into a really lovely cat stretch. So lower back should feel nice and mobile now. Really scoop that tailbone under first and just let it ripple all the way up. Bring the chin towards the chest. Keep those elbows soft. Lovely. Untuck the tailbone and just allow the spine to slowly melt down towards the floor. When we reach that bottom, the bottom there, just a gentle squeeze of the shoulder blades. Again, take the gaze to that top edge of the mat. And then again, somewhere in between those two extremes, we'll find neutral. So press the floor away with the palms of the hands. We're going to turn the toes underneath, have a little sit back into the heels, take an inhale breath. As we exhale, we're going to come up off the knees, press the heels back towards the floor, bring the head in between the arms. Have a little pedal here if you like, just easing those heels back towards the floor. And then pressing both heels back, keeping a soft knee. We're going to walk the hands back towards the feet. Transfer the weight back through the foot again, flopping over the legs. relaxing the arms, the shoulders, the neck, the head. Couple of nice deep breaths there. And then on the next exhale breath, start to think about turning that tailbone under, peeling the tummy away from the thighs, scooping the tummy button up towards the spine. Let the pelvis lead and the spine follow as we start to roll back up and roll back out. Ooh. Restacking and rebuilding, not forgetting when we reach the top to slide those shoulders, do a nice couple of big shoulder rolls there, just to slide the shoulder blades down into the back pockets. And if you wanted to have a go with your roll up and roll down